Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news as Chelsea do enter the Frenkie de Jong transfer race. Much interest in Eric Bailly this morning. Cristiano Ronaldo looking more likely to stay at Manchester United, and positive vibes from the dressing room, according to Steve McClaren. Lots to get into in the show this morning. I feel that this is probably the right show to reiterate what this is. It's a morning show, it's a news show. You will get people in the chat going, last night you were talking about de Jong to Manchester United. Most of that was based on opinion. This is based on news. We cannot just sit and talk about opinion. You have to talk about the news on a news show. So this is not my opinion. I'm about to bring you the news. And the news is that Chelsea are very interested in Frenkie de Jong, and we'll go straight to where that news is coming from, because it's coming from The Athletic, and this is what they are saying. The Athletic are saying that if de Jong were to be persuaded to leave the new camp in this window, the impression is that the Champions League football makes Chelsea a more desirable destination than United, and more impactfully, this is the next bit, Chelsea are watching the de Jong mess of the situation at Barcelona with considerable interest. Tuchel is a keen admirer of Frenkie de Jong. You may well have heard, and look, I think the Athletic have the right to have some credibility. We've also had Sunshine Gary Neville. I've been on holiday with Phil in Miami, and I spoke to some third party, and they've said de Jong to Chelsea is more likely. So that's what I'm thinking. Oh, mad for it. So Gary Neville has not spoken like that, because that sounds nothing like Gary Neville. I'm just hyper this morning. So Gary Neville's come out and said that from a third party, he's heard that de Jong and Chelsea is, a possibility. So the race is on for Frenkie de Jong, I suppose, is what you would say first of all. I just want to hit this with what my impression on this is. And if we don't get Frenkie de Jong, it doesn't reflect badly on me, and it doesn't reflect badly on you. I've not negotiated this deal. You've not negotiated this deal. Many of you would have walked away from this deal 2 months ago. I and some others would have stayed in the deal, but I would have been a little bit different in how I've done it, and we spoke about that last night. But I think the really interesting thing with this, if Chelsea are in the race for Frenkie de Jong, and God forbid Chelsea do win the race for Frenkie de Jong, that's obviously going to be a massive, massive embarrassment for Richard Arnold, the Glazers, and Merta, and you would expect big reactions to that from the fans. Now, we're going to talk about protests on Sunday that are apparently happening anyway. I think there'll be a lot more than that if they mess up this summer transfer window on one player that was very unlikely to come anyway, according to a lot of reports. We always believed they must have an inside track, and I still do. But I think one of the more interesting angles on this is if he did go to Chelsea, or Chelsea are interested in him, add up what Chelsea are interested in. Cucurella, 40 million. Sterling, was he 40 million? That's 80. Koulibaly, 40 million. That's 120. Fofana or Vardial, that's another 60, 70 million. They're approaching 200 million before they go for de Jong at 60. So Chelsea, who finished third last year, they're not Liverpool or Man City. They're spending in excess of £200 million. We've not spent 60 yet. That, I think, is an interesting point. Chelsea are spending serious money to try and compete with Liverpool and Man City. Man United, we haven't even solved the midfield. We've got no depth in the attack, and we've spent under 60 million quid. And we have spent under 60 million quid because I'm not adding the dividend payment on, and we've also sold Pereira to take the Malacia money off. So I think that's a really interesting angle, is not that Chelsea are in for de Jong, the fact that they're in for de Jong and have spent way more than us. I put a tweet out last night, actually, about the top 10 spenders in Europe. And people like West Ham, Leeds, Nottingham Forest are in there. No Man United. No new Man United with a new manager trying to catch everybody up. We're not in there. And some people will quite rightly say, well, we might be in there at the end of the season. But does that not show that a lot of these clubs are actually more switched on than us anyway? I would rather be in the top 10 now, 4 days before the start of the season, than spending money desperately when the season's already started, which is clearly what's going to happen. So let's wait and see what happens with this. But look, I would have to concede that Chelsea are interested in Frenkie de Jong. I've always hoped that wasn't the case, but it's looking more likely that Chelsea are interested in him, and that is a big problem for Manchester United. It doesn't alter the fact that we are reacting to the news here this morning. and it doesn't alter the fact that I'm still 90% sure we'll get De Jong. It doesn't make me feel as confident as I probably did last night, but because if I'm honest with you, I think the big attraction, look, I'll be completely blunt here, the big thing, or I'm trying to think of the word, the big win for Man United with Frankie de Jong, I suppose, was that we were the only club in for him. And therefore, there's no competition. And it's a bit like Bruno, and it's a bit like Sancho. You'll get there in the end. Might take 2 transfer windows, but you'll get there in the end because you're only horse in the race. If another horse is in the race for De Jong, then that other horse can give them Champions League football, better squad, better prospects. I don't blame him if he goes to Chelsea. I do not blame him if he goes to Chelsea, and I blame Man United for wasting all this time. So look, the reason I'm 90% is that 10% for me has always been, can United absolutely mess this up? And of course they can. But the noises coming out of United, Murta and Arnold have been pictured in Barcelona. They've absolutely put it out there for the last 3 months that they're confident they'll get this deal done. So it's trust. And I understand that people don't trust United, but new manager, new CEO, new United. Imagine if De Jong doesn't come to United. Like all these plans they've put in place about a new club, new this, new that, to produce the worst ever transfer in our history, and this will be the worst in our history, it'll be the biggest embarrassment. They can't. How do you come back from that? Jack, welcome to the Members Club. So we'll have to wait and see, but I do think we do need to acknowledge that Chelsea are in the race for Frankie de Jong. Whether they pursue that race, I think the fact that it's coming from The Athletic with journalists that are quite close to Chelsea, I don't think you can ignore the fact that Chelsea are in this race, and they're spending serious money. And I said that, I think I said it last night as well. Chelsea's transfer window has been chaotic. It's been all over the place. Missing out on Rafinha, missing out on Koundé. They want Fofana, they want Vardiel. They've gone for Dumfries, now they're going for Cucurella, now they're in for De Jong. They wanted Rice, they never did anything about that. It's been a chaotic summer for Chelsea, but I'd take their summer transfer window over ours every day of the week. Because one thing you can say about Chelsea is it has been chaotic, but they've been relentless and they've moved on, and very, very quickly. And they're not getting some of the targets they want, but they'll move on to another target. And, there's even rumours that Chelsea want Anthony. So people can say that Chelsea are looking over our shoulder at our list. Well, more fool of us. More fool us. I told you, Sky reported we only paid 9 million first season for Martinez, which makes our spend 12 million with Pereira sold and Malacia. We are a joke, says Jack. I don't actually agree with that, Jack. I'll be fair to the club there. I don't actually agree with, let's start adding up the instalments. We paid 75 million for Sancho. You take it as 75 million. We didn't actually pay 75 million. We're probably playing, if you want to be like that, we're probably playing Dortmund 25 million this summer. Are you going to add that on? I think you have to take the fee, and you have to add that into the window. I know technically that's not correct, but it just gets very confusing if you don't, because we could be paying a payment for Bruno this summer as well. You just don't know. Hi Mark, do you think when De Jong comes we will see a midfield with him and Donny? Do you think that he will get De Fred, says Nicholas. I don't know what show you're watching, Nicholas, but I don't think some people think we're going to get Frankie. And seeing both clubs have new guys leading them, is it fair compare Chelsea and United in terms of their transfer activities, says Villan. I think it's very fair to compare Chelsea and Manchester United in their transfer activities, because Chelsea want to catch Liverpool and Man City, and apparently so do we. One club is relentlessly buying players in the transfer window, whilst the other one is sat on their arse checking their online banking. Mark, nothing surprises me with this club. The Argala transfer window, even Cavani, I expect we are done with our transfers other than a panic buy, says Aram. Well, with every day, it's the 2nd of August, we get closer to the 1st of September when this window closes. And I've said this before, there's 4 weeks to go. When have United ever been efficiently quick? 4 weeks is nothing. 4 weeks will go in the blink of an eye for United. We might do nothing. We might get 2 players. We might lose Ronaldo and do nothing. There's lots of permutations. But that De Jong story is, I suppose the one positive I would say about De Jong is that it was always going to start moving this week. Barcelona need to get this deal done. De Jong needs to resolve his future. Man United, I mean, we'd probably sit there for another couple of years. Chelsea, if they are involved, they'll want to get it done quickly. I mean, look, on Saturday, Cucurella was going to Man City. On Tuesday, he's going to Chelsea. That's how quick Chelsea are acting. It's like bang, bang, bang. But one thing I would say, and The Athletic said this, they said that, Manchester United need to be realistic to the fact that they agreed a deal with Barcelona a few weeks ago and nothing's happened. But nothing's happened because De Jong wants the money he's owed. That's why nothing's happened. I mean, Chelsea could have a bid accepted today, but unless they're going to pay what De Jong's owed, I don't see that moving any quicker than what it is for us. But look, we'll just have to wait and see with De Jong. In life, you cannot, if you fancy a girl or a boy and you want to marry them, and other people want to marry them, and you just wait and go, well, I'll do it when I'm ready, and someone else comes in and asks them to marry them, then that's your fault. You've took too long. You cannot overestimate how good Frankie de Jong is. If Frankie de Jong goes to Chelsea, he's a fantastic signing. If he goes to Man City, he's a fantastic signing. You can't sit around for 3 months. You've got to get these deals done quickly. This is why some fans have become bored, irritated and frustrated, because you cannot just sit there for 3 months going, we're trying to sign De Jong, we're trying to sign De Jong. Because at some point, it's logical, another club is going to go, oh, we quite fancy that. Our window's not going the way we wanted it to. Let's go and get him. And they might do it. Thanks for all the content. Appreciate it, says Samuel. So that's where we are with De Jong at the moment. I suppose we could talk and talk and talk, but I don't want to move on too much. Just before we talk about Ronaldo, though, let's just have a look at what Steve McClaren's been saying. Lots of positive comments from Steve McClaren. He's saying, effectively, the vibe's good. He says, the vibe that I'm getting from the players, they want it. They want the discipline. They want to know what their jobs are. They want feedback on it because they want to win. I'm afraid at Manchester United, you have to win. He's spoken about the dressing room, how there's a really good vibe and there's a really good feel about the dressing room. And it's a really positive interview from Steve McClaren about the positive vibes around United, pre-season, etc., etc. And there's no reason to say anything about that. I'm sure that pre-season has been a good vibe. There's a good manager, but Steve must know, and we all know as well. The season's not kicked off, Steve. You've got no midfield, and you've got no depth in the attack. Look, I'm sure that in the dressing room they are all singing "Shiny Happy People" by REM, or something a bit cooler. And I'm sure everybody is happy, and I'm sure they're all having a right good laugh when they're on tour and they're having the dinner together. I guarantee they're all smiling and happy, but that's what pre-season's like. Will they feel like that in October when we're mid-table, or we're nowhere near top four, or we've been smashed by Arsenal, or whatever bad scenario you can imagine in your head? Will they be all happy then? No, they won't. They won't be happy then, and that's when the challenge will start. So, look, it's good to start the season with a happy vibe, and I think McClaren's done exactly the right thing. He should do that. But just because there's a happy vibe in the coaching and the training and the dressing room at the moment doesn't mean that we're ready for the start of the season. I remember actually when I was about 11, I came home from primary school on a school night, on a Tuesday night. We never did this. So it's a Tuesday night. Tuesday night normally would be, I don't know, Findus crispy pancakes and oven chips in front of the TV watching Grange Hill. I get home from school. We've got a Chinese takeaway. We only used to have them every 6 months. What are we doing it on a Tuesday night for, right? Tuesday night, Chinese takeaway. We take the dog for a walk. We never did that as a family. Came back, put a film on, and I remember we were all sat around watching this film on a Tuesday night, and the dog was there on the basket, and everyone was just sat around, and we had snacks and everything. I was like, this is great. We should do it every night. The vibe was good in the living room. Everybody was really happy and positive. I mean, I was a little bit like, what's going on here? But it was great. Nobody explained it. I just thought, this is great. Went to bed that night, really pleased. Oh, I've got a great family life. Went to school the next day. This is amazing. Oh, the vibe was brilliant. Get home from school, the dog's been put down. I didn't see that coming. Thinking about it now, I should have seen it coming a mile off. The vibe's great. Yeah, look, we're taking a dog for a walk, having a Chinese takeaway, watching a film. Oh, look at this great family. The next night, the bloody dog's been put down. The vibe was brilliant the night before. The next night, devastated. Absolutely devastated. I've been lied to, effectively. Emotionally lied to. And maybe that's what's going on with United. The vibe is great. The dressing room is great. But that squad ain't. That midfield is like my dog. It's on its last legs. It's not going to survive. And to be honest, the attack is thin up front as well. So, yes, the vibe is good. You've got to get the vibe going. I think Ten Hag, McClaren and his team are doing a really good job, but they're going to struggle. As every United fan knows, they're going to struggle long term because we don't have the quality of players. We haven't had the spend that Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea are doing. And look, I don't mention Liverpool and Man City anymore, because there's no point. watch the Community Shield at the weekend. They're miles ahead of us. I'm looking at Spurs, Chelsea and Arsenal, and all of their spends are way better than ours. And yet we're trying to finish above them. They all finished above us last year. They all deserve to finish above us last year. And they've all bought better than us this summer. I don't need a weatherman to tell me when it's raining. And I don't need an ex-player to tell me we're going to struggle to get top 4 this year from where we are at the moment. Are you still 90% on De Jong? Says Butterbean. Well, yeah, I am. Because I'm a stubborn person. But no, I am 90% because I'll tell you why I'm 90%. It's nothing to do with being stubborn. I'm 90% sure because I personally, as much as I've slated Manchester United, I personally do not believe they would put themselves out there like this and then not get this deal done. And if they do that, then they deserve every bit of criticism that's coming their way. And as I said, that picture of Murta and Arnold in Barcelona a few weeks ago, that needs to be completely edited and done as Dumb and Dumber 3. You know, because that would just be embarrassing. Can we blame your dog's death on the Glazers, says Robert McCormack. I blame the Glazers for most things that go wrong in my life, Robert. You know, most things. If my car breaks down, it's the Glazers' fault. You know, if there's no fish at the fish and chip shop because I've gone there too late, I'll blame it on the Glazers. You know, if I lose at FIFA, I blame it on the Glazers. Robert, the thing is, you know, any negativity in your life is probably subconsciously brought on by the Glazers destroying our football club. Mark, do you believe that United are going to pay what De Jong is owed in his wages? I don't know, James. I mean, look, I know it's a bit sadistic, but some of you might agree with me with this here. I'm actually quite glad Chelsea are in this race because at least it'll be over soon. You know, I think if Chelsea didn't enter this race, this could run till August the 31st or September the 1st. At least it will be over soon. You know, we've been suffering for a long time with this. At least it's going to be over soon. And then if we've messed it up, at least we can deal with that. It's interesting because Fabrizio Romano was talking about De Jong and he said plan A, B, C and D is De Jong. There are other options, but that is the truth. You know, that is the truth. Ricardo, Avram Glazer ran over my cat. Thank you very much, Ricardo. There are options if we don't get De Jong, but they're not plan B, C or D. Like, Ten Hag wants De Jong. It's very clear that that's the obsession. The drop down from De Jong to Tielemans is huge. I think Tielemans wants to go to Arsenal anyway. Ruben Neves, nobody bloody wants him, and he's expensive. Like, nobody wants Ruben Neves. Like, so we're going to go from De Jong to Ruben Neves. I mean, and probably pay the same. Personally, I'd go for Lema. That I would. Bayern Munich want Lema. He's a good player. He's not Frankie De Jong, but I would go for Lema. I think Lema's the one that suits the best. He's reasonably priced at about 25 million quid. I'd go for Lema and Sangari and just try and, you know, use this season as a rebuild. You know, De Jong is an instant impact player. I'd go for Lema and Sangari and spend the money on those two, to be honest. But there is no real genuine backup in Ten Hag's eyes. I'm more confident on De Jong now than you were Sancho. Both were 90%, but some reason De Jong doesn't feel as likely, says Aram. Watching from China, keep up the good work, Mark. Where do you think United will finish, says Araf. So we'll be doing all our pre-season previews for United later on in the week. I think we've got Ricky coming on and some of the crew and stuff like that, and we're going to be filming that stuff over the next few days for you, so I'm looking forward to that. But suffice to say, I don't really know where United will finish. I haven't thought about it in any detail, but any granular detail. But what I will say is I don't think we're going to finish in the top 4 from here, and I'd love to know why somebody thinks we would finish in the top 4 from here. In fact, we should probably do a poll. Lewis Clark says, I would like to see Ronaldo stay, but think he should be our backup striker as he's 38 and can't play every game, and I think Martial should start up front, says Lewis. I think Ronaldo would like that. I think Martial would like that. I think that's a very mature way of looking at this season. Ronaldo got overplayed at the end of last season because Cavani was injured, Rashford was crap, Martial wasn't here, Greenwood was on bail. You know, Ronaldo had to do it on his own, and it's too much for Ronaldo to do Premier League football twice a week, or whatever it was, Champions League, whatever. So, yeah, I think Martial and Ronaldo are very important. And let's not forget, Martial won't stay fit either. So I think both of... I don't really understand the whole Martial Ronaldo debate. So many of our fans just want to do that thing, and I've spoke about it before. I just don't see how that helps Ten Hag or helps us move forward as a club. Malacia versus Shaw, Bruno versus Eriksen, Maguire versus Varane. You know what? What about rotation? What about competition for places? I don't really care who plays at left back or who plays up front. You know, whoever's in form, basically. United are a joke, same old United, but in Ten Hag we trust. I hope we pull something out of the hat, but I can't see it happening. I hope we can get Anthony, says Dylan. There's a rule in United to play at least one academy player. Just check it, Mark, it spoils us, says the A's. And it's just an absolute nightmare summer. Ten Hag's naivety with the transfer target is pitiful. What happens if Frankie de Jong signs and gets any injury, says Daniel. You know what, though? I mean, I'm not going to be blind, because some people will say that Ten Hag has to take some responsibility here. But have you ever thought about it like this? I'm just doing the little poll for you. Where will United finish? Top 4 or outside top 4? Do you not think we might be expecting too much from Erik Ten Hag anyway? And this is where the club have let him down again. Because Erik Ten Hag is an Eredivisie manager who's never dealt with a big budget in his whole career. He's now manager of Manchester United, and is he not always going to be a little bit like a kid in a sweet shop? You know, he doesn't know what he wants because he's never had so much choice in his life. And he's like, I want de Jong. I want de Jong. I want one of the world's best midfielders to come and play for one of the worst teams in the top 8 in the Premier League, which is us. We are one of the worst teams in the top 8. I know we finished 6th, but we were lucky. It's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to say that's the player I want and that's the only player I want, unless he knows 100% that player is going to come, which is what I believe is the case. But I do think it's unfair to have a pop at Ten Hag, because it's not like he's got any experience of dealing with big clubs with big budgets. And this is where United maybe should have dealt with things a little bit better, because it seems to me that it's almost like the blind leading the blind on this de Jong deal if it goes wrong. But I retain confidence that we will get it right. What's your feeling on Garnacho? First team ready, says Ginger. I'd like to see him getting some game time off the bench. I don't think he's first team ready at the moment, but he's an exciting player, and I certainly probably wouldn't loan him. I'd loan Elanga and keep Garnacho. Actually, I think Elanga needs to play every week in the Championship and get some confidence and energy and rhythm. And I don't think he's going to get that in a United shirt, because I sense there's a lot of United fans who just don't think he's up to it. So he's already on a downer because people just don't think he's ready. So I think he needs to go away for a year, like people like Garner have done and others have done in the past. I think Elanga needs to go on loan, and I would keep Garnacho. There's more of a buzz around Garnacho than there is around Elanga, if that makes sense. With the current team, I see a top 6 finish, says Khalifa. Thank you. Stradell, thank you very much for joining the members club. If United get 2 top 4, Ten Hag deserves a statue with this squad, says John. You know what, John? You make a good point, John, because I said this before, John. I've said this about Arteta for the last couple of years at Arsenal. If he gets top 4 with Arsenal, I'd build a statue. I think we're in the same position. I look at that Arsenal side last year, and if he'd got top 4 with that, I'd have thought that was really impressive. I think if Ten Hag gets top 4 with this squad, he's done wonders. Really. And it's interesting because 73% of you are saying that we're going to finish outside the top 4, whereas 3 weeks ago, a lot more people were saying we would finish top 4. So it just shows you how the closer we get to the start of the season and these transfers haven't transpired is really popping the positivity. Doesn't matter if Ten Hag has experience, it's up to the club to get those transfers in, and they've been here for years. Exactly, Sam. I agree with you on that one. So let's move on anyway. Let's talk about Ronaldo. So Cristiano Ronaldo, what's the latest on Ronaldo? Well, James Ducker in The Telegraph is saying that signs point increasingly to Ronaldo being forced to stay at Manchester United next season, with the club refusing to back down from their insistence that the 37-year-old is not for sale. Well, it's interesting because Henry Winter from The Times put an article out this morning saying it's best for all parties if Cristiano Ronaldo goes, to which I actually replied and went, how is it best for all parties if Ronaldo goes when a large majority of Manchester United fans don't want him to go and Ten Hag doesn't want him to go? So it's best for all parties because Henry Winter, the journalist, says it's best for all parties. So he knows what's best for me, what's best for Ten Hag, and what's best for Manchester United. I'm all for opinion, and Henry's a very respected journalist who's been at it for years, but he also does a lot of stuff with Marcus Rashford. Now, would he say the same thing about Marcus Rashford? Did he say the same thing about Marcus Rashford in April when Rashford was performing badly And a lot of people felt it was time for him to go. I don't remember an article from Henry then saying it's best for all parties for Marcus Rashford to go and try somewhere else. No, he didn't. So I'm sorry, I just detect that it's the same old media bias, I suppose, towards certain players and against other players. You can't tell me what's best for me. I know what's best for me. You can't tell Ten Hag what's best for him. There is absolutely a debate to be had about the future of Cristiano Ronaldo, and there'll be people in this chat saying, I think Henry Winter's right. But he's not exclusively right. It's not best for all parties that Ronaldo goes. It's probably best for Ronaldo if he wants to go, and it's probably best for those fans who want him to go, and it's best for the club that want to sign him. But it's not best for Man United, it's not best for Ten Hag, and it's not best for fans like me who want to keep our best player. Ten Hag has said time and time again he's not for sale and he wants to build a team around him. Manchester United have said time and time again he's not for sale, and you can look at the value of Cristiano Ronaldo, who can sell out a game that would have had about 40,000 people there and ended up with 75. And it's not best for fans like me who don't want to lose our best striker, our best player, who's going to score us probably 20 goals next season, that I don't know where we get them from if we lose him, because Martial's here anyway. So people who say, well, Martial will score the goals Ronaldo does, what about when Martial's injured? What about when Martial's out of form? What about when Martial needs to come off? You need Martial and Ronaldo and probably another striker. So I don't see how it's best for all parties 4 days before the start of the season to lose your best player. Because you know what, Henry and everybody else, I don't see a lined up replacement that's going to come in and score us 20 Premier League goals. And I don't see the funds for us to go and buy that striker even if they existed. So I don't think it's best for all parties at all. I think it's best that he stays. I think it's very obvious that it's best that he stays. But look, what do I know? But if you don't think that there is an element of bias in the media, I saw this the other day and I thought I've got to bring it into the show. I have to bring it into the show. So this was a headline from a UK outlet this, I think it was this weekend. It was after Ronaldo left. You can read it on the live there. So it's an example of a headline about Ronaldo leaving early with other players and the permission of the club. And this is what a certain outlet put. And it wasn't, in fact, I think it was The Times. Ronaldo sulks out of Old Trafford before final whistle. I mean, you are on a hiding to nothing when you've got credible journalists putting headlines like that out. I mean, it's complete bullshit. And it's a headline. And you wonder how things can get manipulated. And you wonder whether there is a bias in our media. That is complete and utter fabrication. He wasn't sulking out at Old Trafford before final whistle. He left with other players with the permission of the club. And you know, that is just inflammatory. Ronaldo sulks out of Old Trafford before final whistle. And you wonder why some of our fans are there going, get him out of our club. Get him out of our club. You know, it's disrespectful, this, that and the other. And yet, Man United have come out and said, we knew he left. He had permission to go with other players. And yet you get a headline like that. It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because it's like, you know, you want to just talk about the football and you get thrown into this drama. And you know what the next line is? The next angle will be, because that's not worked, the next angle will be, United are better off without Ronaldo because of the circus. Who creates the circus? Who brings the clowns to town? It's the media. All I want to talk about is how good Ronaldo is for our football team. The circus comes from the leaks from the dressing room and from the media. And then the social media, I suppose. But actually, if we just focus on the football, that's all he wants to focus on. And that's all I want to focus on. And that's all what Ten Hag wants to focus on. And that's all what a lot of United fans want to focus on. And I just want to get to the start of the season. Let's get our heads down and let's start playing. Explorac, welcome to Members Club. And Mark, do you think Ten Hag will overachieve this season or underachieve with this squad and get rid of Elanga and Jong? They're crap, says Dylan. I don't know, Dylan. I don't know. My initial reaction on the United season upcoming is that we will start the season well. I've always been quite consistent. I think we will start the season well. I worry about September, October. That's where I think we'll start to struggle. And maybe, you know, after the World Cup, January, February, when the volume of games kicks in, your squad's not in trouble in the first few games of the season. We play one game a week in August. So we're fine. You know, you're going to be really unlucky if you get injured players in August. We'll be able to put out a good team and have a good bench in August. But what'll happen is when you hit September and the Europa League and the Carabao Cup and the Premier League is all going on and there's no international break, we'll start to get tired. The squad will start to pick up injuries, bad form, you'll need to rotate, and then we can't rotate. So I expect a really good August for United, and then I worry about September and October. I don't think we'll start the season badly. In fact, somebody said yesterday our first 4 games are Brighton, Brentford, Liverpool, Southampton. I can see us getting 10 points or 9 points. Sorry, 10 points or 8 points. I think we'll win the first 2, so 6, Brighton and Brentford, and that's just my opinion. I think we will. I think Liverpool we will draw, and I think Southampton we will win. So that's 10 points from 12. That would be good. We might draw at Southampton, which is 8, but I don't think... I mean, look, even if we lose to Liverpool and beat Southampton, it's 9 from 12. So I can see us being in a healthy position by the end of August. That might not be a good thing for our transfer window, because if the club see a good start, you know they've not got a clue. They'll go, oh, we're fine. I love Ronaldo, but whether he stays or goes, I just wish we would resolve the situation so we can move on, says Alex. Well, look, I wouldn't expect that, Alex, in a million years. With Ronaldo, you're not going to get... I'm definitely staying until September. He left Juventus when the season had started in late August, so there's always going to be an option there. But James Ducker does say in his same article where he's talking about Ronaldo there that Ronaldo will be on the bench at best on Sunday. I don't know why. See, again, I don't know whether that article is tinged with negativity towards Ronaldo, because why would you say Ronaldo will be on the bench at best on Sunday? I mean, he's logically going to be on the bench because his fitness levels are not where they should be. Why would he not be on the bench? Because we've got no strikers. So again, even the way that's written doesn't help the situation, because it's like Ronaldo will be on the bench at best on Sunday, and it's just inflammatory, isn't it? And maybe it's done on purpose to make people read it or have an opinion, and that's absolutely fine. But of course he's going to be on the bench on Sunday. He's not going to start because he only played 45 minutes this Sunday, and he didn't get hauled off. Like, it's all about you can read Ten Hag like a book when you know what he's all about. He clearly decided that Eriksen and Lisandro Martinez were playing an hour and Ronaldo was playing 45 minutes because that's where they're at on their pre-season prep. Ronaldo won't be ready to play 90 minutes against Brighton anyway. If you started him, you're taking him off after about an hour anyway. So you may as well start Martial, who's fitter, play him for 70 minutes and then give Ronaldo 20, which is what I think will happen, and I think everybody's happy with that. So... But he won't not be on the bench unless he's injured. So, yeah. And we've got 5 subs, as Tuto says as well. Mark, would you consider a video covering club predictions at the end of the transfer window? Top scorer, club player of the year, best new signing, most improved youngster, one to watch for next year. We're going to do all that, Dorian, anyway. We do that every year, so we will be doing all that. If you check out That's Football, where I've done my Premier League predictions, we'll basically replicate that for United. So, player of the year, young player of the year, flop of the year... where we'll get in the cups, we're not in the Champions League, so all that, we'll cover all that, don't worry about it. And there is another story which I need to apologise for, because I read it last night when I was a little bit, I wasn't drunk, I was just a bit tired and I was watching something, and I misread it, so I tweeted it. And I actually was saying if this is what Ten Hag wants, it's fine, but people were moaning, going, he's only going to be an under-21 coach. You're talking like he's going to be a player coach for the first team. And I'm like, well, what? I've missed out a couple of words. Ultimately, I've said if it's what Ten Hag wants, it's fine, even though it's odd. So Man United are in talks with former England midfielder Tom Huddleston over a role at the club where he will be playing with the under-21 team. I mean, I think former England midfielder is a bit generous. I don't really associate Tom Huddleston with being a former England midfielder. I mean, he's probably got a few caps, but, so's Darren Bent, hasn't he? So Steve Guppy, if you remember him. But look, I do remember Tom Huddleston from Spurs. Got a good shot on him. I would presume Erik Ten Hag's got a say in this. So at the end of the day, we want the manager to get what he wants. We had that McShane lad who was doing this role. I think it's a bit of a development role, effectively. They can play a few games for the under-21s. They do a bit of coaching and they develop at Manchester United. So, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? If it's what Ten Hag wants, it's what Ten Hag wants. Some people didn't want McClaren. I was like, quite like the idea. It's what Ten Hag wants. I mean, it's not even big news, is it, at the end of the day? The big news we want is, are we buying a bloody midfielder and are we buying an attacker? And until we get to that point, you know, I don't really care. You know, we've got Benny McCarthy. Look, good for them. I hope it works out. You know what? I don't need to know the name of these people. Part of me would just like to say United have just appointed a coach from Marseille who's considered to be one of the best coaches in the world. I wouldn't need to know his name. That's the sort of recruitment I want to see in our fitness department, in our boardroom, as our director of football, as our technical director, as our coach, as our under-21s. All I want is United to recruit the best. I don't care whether they're from Brazil, Australia, you know, the French league. I just want specialism. I don't need to know their name. And I think many United fans are like that. I mean, nothing against people like Darren Fletcher, etc., but you know the names and you go, you know, is that because they used to play for the club? I'd rather we were just recruiting the best. That's why I wanted Paul Mitchell to come in, you know, because he's one of the best in his arena. But there you go. Right, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone. Good show this morning. Just a reminder, I'm about to record our latest members video where we're going to compare deep diving Sancho versus Anthony. So I'm literally going to record it now. So it'll be going up before midday. If you are a member, a lot of you ask for that. I think you're going to enjoy it. If you're not a member, check out the Members Club by clicking the join button or the link at the top of the chat. You can also join our Fantasy Premier League. We've got set up for the members as well. I know there's a lot of Fantasy Premier League codes out there and you can join whatever you want. But if you want to be part of our members one, click the join button and join the Members Club. Thanks for joining. We've got prizes and all sorts that we're giving away for that this year. So thanks to that. And you've got a new video coming out. And we've got a really exciting members video coming out on Friday as well. A glimpse into the new United stand. What could that be? Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. We're back at 2 o'clock as normal. And obviously 8 o'clock as well. Let's see what happens. I've got to say, the Frenkie de Jong saga, I know it is a bit sadistic, but I actually quite like the idea that Chelsea might be involved. Because if Chelsea are involved, then it will move quickly. What about the protests, Mark? Says Stephen. Very good point, Stephen. I'd completely forgotten about that. And I don't know. Oh, here we go. Yep, I did have it ready for you. Stephen, you're on the ball this morning. Manchester United are bracing themselves for further demonstrations from fans on Sunday at home to Brighton, calling for the removal of the Glazers. Good. Good. Whether you're part of those protests, whether you believe in those protests or not, is your choice, and that should not be an argument point. But these things were happening with Rangnick as the manager at the end of last season, and they are continuing by the looks of it with Ten Hag as the manager. This has got nothing to do with Rangnick. It's got nothing to do with Ten Hag. This is about the ownership of this football club. And look, if you look at the transfer window alone, our spend has been pitiful. Our activity has been embarrassing. And our second best signing is still a dividend payment to the Glazers. Like, nothing is changing at this football club. And it's meant to be a new United. And look, Richard Arnold, apparently a really nice guy. Apparently really wants to do a lot of good. What did he say in that pub? The money's there for the manager's players that he wants. Well, that money's not been spent, Richard. So at the moment, it just sounds like the same old lies that we've had for years and years under this ownership. And you can't blame people for being angry. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. And yeah, check out that members video that's coming out. Click the members button. 68% of you think we're going to finish outside the top 4. 32% think we're going to finish in the top 4. I'll speak to you a little bit later on.